Good morning, Hokies. My name is Nathan Levenka, and I'm a proud 2011 graduate of Virginia Tech and currently serve as the president of the Virginia Tech Alumni Association Board of Directors. It's my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you back to Blacksburg as we celebrate together here at Alumni Weekend. This weekend, as we reconnect with fellow Hokies and reminisce about Virginia Tech, let's not forget how the university profoundly shaped who we are today. Our alma mater didn't just launch us into this world, it instilled in us a commitment to excellence in education, research, and service that extends far beyond our 4 years here at Virginia Tech. As alumni, I believe service takes on a deeper meaning for each of us. When we became Hokies, we began a lifelong commitment to Ut Prosim. This is a bond we share that calls us to action to give back to our communities. I believe one of the most profound ways we can show this commitment is through our engagement and philanthropy in support of Virginia Tech. When we advocate for and support the Virginia Tech culture of service and engagement, we act as role models for other alums to understand the importance of broad-based philanthropic support. Every act of engagement helps, whether it's mentoring current students, serving on committees and advisory boards, returning to campus for special occasions such as this, or giving to student scholarships. Literally every act of engagement strengthens Virginia Tech. Our investment fuels the engine of innovation. It allows Virginia Tech to attract the brightest minds, foster groundbreaking research, and empower impactful service initiatives. It shapes the next generation of leaders, innovators, and change makers who will carry our legacy forward. I am pleased to share that all 10 classes celebrating a milestone reunion this year, from our newest alumni celebrating their 5th year reunion to our 50th reunion class, collectively raised over $87 million in support of the university in the last 5 years. This weekend, let's not just remember what our alma mater gave us, but envision the collective impact we are creating together as Hokies. We play an important role in the future of Virginia Tech and are responsible for taking ownership of that role. On behalf of the Virginia Tech Alumni Association, thank you for being here and embracing the spirit of Ut Prosim. Go Hokies! I'd now like to introduce Debbie Day. Debbie is a 3-time Hokie and a Hokie mom, and, interesting fact, a past professor of mine. She has served the university since 1987, when she joined the Alumni Relations team. She led the work of the university's Alumni Relations officers while also playing an important role in high-profile projects such as the celebration of the university's 150th anniversary. She currently serves as the Associate Vice President for Presidential Priorities. Please welcome Debbie Day. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce Virginia Tech's 16th president, Tim Sands. He is a scientist, an educator, and an inventor. Since joining Virginia Tech in 2014, he has worked collaboratively with the provost and university leadership to continue to position the university to become a leading modern global land-grant institution. Under President Sands' leadership, undergraduate enrollment has been increased by 5,000 to achieve the benefits of scale while preserving the strong sense of community rooted in our motto, Ut Prosim, that I may serve. Student interest in Virginia Tech has grown continuously, as reflected in a doubling of applications from first-time prospective students, this year reaching an astounding 52,000 plus applications. Student success has been a priority, with 4-year graduation rates increasing from 61% to 70%. Last year, Dr. Sands announced the creation of 2 presidential priorities, Virginia Tech Advantage and Virginia Tech Global Distinction. Both are intended to move the university forward, cementing its reputation as a leading global land-grant. You will hear more from him today about the importance of those 2 priorities. President Sands will share a university update, and following his remarks, I'll be asking him some questions, including some of yours. Please welcome Virginia Tech President Tim Sands.
Thank you, Debbie. It's great to see everyone here. I mean, you could be outside enjoying one of our typical beautiful June days, but here you are inside. We'll get you out there pretty soon, but thank you for taking the time to hear a little bit about where we've been as a university in the last several years, and also I'm looking forward to the Q&A. So I hope you've had a great Alumni Weekend. I've heard some good stories. I heard about last night a little bit. I was not roaming the bars in Blacksburg checking it out, but I heard that everything went well. And I know you've had a chance to hear from some of our faculty and sort of learn a little bit about what the university's been doing since you graduated. This month is a big anniversary for me as well. I'm this week starting my second decade. Laura and I came here in June of 2014, and I'm looking forward to celebrating with you this weekend. In fact, I believe 2024 is a milestone for the entire university. We've seen many years of planning and work over the last decade, and that investment is paying off in tangible ways. Over the last decade, we've developed a vision for the university that became known as Beyond Boundaries. And just a little sidelight there, that name came up in a meeting about a decade ago, and I have vivid memories of that moment, because when someone suggested, it wasn't me, let's call this thing Beyond Boundaries, it really resonated with me, because the big opportunities for us are at the intersections of disciplines. They're when people break down the silos and start working across the university together, even across our alumni base as well, on common efforts. And I think we're getting there. It started off with a vision and a strategic plan. And part of that, in terms of our ambitious goals, part of it was to double our endowment and to double annual fundraising and to advance our research enterprise, leverage our presence in the greater Washington, D.C. area, which, by the way, is one of the things that drew me to Virginia Tech, the fact that we could be have a rural presence with a big land-grant campus for our undergraduates and our big research enterprise, but then be also co-located next to the capital of the free world, if you will, and just to be able to leverage that was important to me. And to also reflect in our student body the diversity of our Commonwealth, and to prepare our students to thrive in a global environment, a truly global environment. A decade later, in 2024, our endowment has more than doubled. Our average annual giving rate is almost 3 times what it was a decade ago. So thank you for that. It is making a huge difference at Virginia Tech. We've exceeded our $1 million fundraising goal for the Beyond Boundaries Scholars Program. Our annual Giving Day set another record, yet another one, raising more than $13 million from nearly 19,000 donors. And the Boundless Impact Campaign is on track to reach $1.872 billion by 2027. And we've engaged more than 98,000 alumni. And just to put that in perspective, that $1.872 billion, so not a random number, was up from 1.5, the original target, and I'm absolutely confident we're going to blow by that number as well. But it is really important that we engage our alums as part of this, and that's where that 98,000 number was. We set a goal by 2027 to engage in a very tangible way, very well-defined metrics, 100,000 Hokies, and we're already at 98,000. So we upped it to 120,000 to 2027. So again, thank you for all the energy and effort you bring to making us not only reach our goals, but to fly right past them. Those are remarkable numbers, and it speaks volumes about how our alumni have supported our vision, and it gives us confidence to continue moving forward and to set more ambitious goals. Our extramural research expenditures, which is the part of our research enterprise that's funded by external sources, exceeded our 2025 goal this past year. That original milestone was $410 million. We were at $419 million this past year, in other words, fiscal year 23. That is, we hit that milestone 2 years ahead of time, and we're seeing double-digit increases in our research expenditures over the last few years. That is going to pay enormous dividends, not only for Virginia Tech, but the kind of impact we can have on our communities, on the Commonwealth of Virginia, and certainly globally. Our innovation campus is poised to open in Alexandria next year, early next year. And any of you who've drive around that part of Virginia or are familiar with it, it's where the old Regent Theater was, or Regal Theater, I'm sorry, in a big parking lot next to Target. Target's still there, but you'll see an 11-story building that's shaped like a gemstone that's almost complete, and that will be the home of our innovation campus. We've also achieved our goal of admitting 40% underrepresented and underserved students into our entering class. Back about a decade ago, about a third of our students were underrepresented minority, low income, or first generation or veterans, and now that's up to about 40%. This happened despite a challenging environment in higher education that no one could have anticipated. When the pandemic hit us 4 years ago, we said we would emerge stronger despite the challenges, and I believe that we have. We remain true to our mission and vision, and most importantly, we tapped into the spirit of ut prosum throughout Hokie Nation. And just one thing that hit me even before I arrived on campus was the motto, ut prosum, was not just a motto that you see under a logo for the university. It was truly embodied by the alumni, by the students, by the faculty and staff, and even by the larger community. And that remains true. I think it's even stronger, that feeling today of commitment to service in a lifelong context. From fall of 2019 to 2023, applications for undergraduate admission rose by 64%, and we hit another record, as you just heard, of over 52,000 for this upcoming fall. That's up over 11% from last year. But we have been limited in our capacity for undergraduate enrollment, so we hit 30,000 or thereabouts in 2019, and we've held it fairly constant since then, because we didn't have the infrastructure, housing and classroom space, dining, recreational space to support any more growth. You see the results of that pause that we took when you walk around campus now. We've got all sorts of construction going on. It's about to be completed that will allow us to get there. You know, the challenge has been, though, as a land-grant university, you want to admit the students that are prepared to succeed. And we, unfortunately, are not doing that now. We used to admit about 70% of our applicants, and now we're down in the mid-50s. And so Virginia Tech has become more selective because of that restriction on the undergraduate enrollment. We're going to revisit that. We have new housing plans, but we're working closely with the town of Blacksburg, the town of Christiansburg, Montgomery County, and New River Valley to understand, you know, how can we create an even more vibrant community, and is there an opportunity to grow? And we're going to wait until we have that conversation before we revisit our enrollment goals. To accommodate our growth and future plans, as I mentioned, we're building this on-campus infrastructure that you see around you. We've opened over the last year the Data and Decision Science Building, so I hope you've had a chance to see that. It's an extraordinary place where 3 colleges share incredible collision space, if you will. A lot of resources there that you wouldn't see in a typical classroom building. We've also opened the Core Leadership and Military Science Building and a new residence hall in the Upper Quad, and the Gilbert Place office building, which houses computer science, among other parts of Virginia Tech. So tremendous growth there. But then this year we'll be opening up Hitt Hall, which is the home of Myers Lawson School of Construction, Perry Place Dining, which shares the building with Hitt, the Undergraduate Science Laboratory building, and a multimodal transit facility, which is being built by the town of Blacksburg. And all those are in what we call the North Academic District, which you remember as a gravel parking lot. So you probably, that's a part of the campus that you will not recognize. I always say to alums, you can always go to the center of the drill field, look around, and you will know where you are. We will never change that. But everything else is off limits. We can go, we'll do what we need to do. But I'm really pleased with how that North Academic District is developing. We're also going to complete renovations for War Memorial Gym. So that will open up this summer. And looking forward to playing on hardwood floors with air conditioning instead of concrete floors with in a sauna, which is what I remember playing basketball in that gym before the renovation started. That it doesn't stop there, though. We do have some other work to do. Construction on Mitchell Hall has begun. Randolph is under demolition right now. I know for those of you who had classes in Randolph or did labs in Randolph, you're probably feeling a little nostalgia, but we also know the condition of that place, and not too many of our students are upset about this. So we will have Mitchell Hall in a few years, and that will be very exciting. We have, of course, when we're working on the new Pamplin building. So lots going on, still to go, not done yet, but we're in a good spot. Since fiscal year 2019, tuition and fees have increased by 11%, while the consumer price increase has gone up by 22%. So we've been able to manage through the last several years without losing ground to inflation. Matter of fact, gaining a little ground. Some of that is internal cost controls. Some of it is a greater investment by the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth of Virginia was gradually disinvesting over a period of 20 or 30 years from higher ed, and that's not an uncommon story. That was true throughout the nation. The last 5 or 6 years, things have turned around, and we've started to see more investments by the Commonwealth. We thank them for that, to the taxpayers of Virginia, and it's paying off. It's more affordable to go to Virginia Tech, at least from a tuition and fees point of view, than it was 5 or 7 years ago. But the big challenge we have now is housing and food, which inflation has hit hard, and our students are feeling that. So although we feel good about the tuition and fee piece of it, and there's still more work to do, the housing and food have made the cost of living accelerate, and so we're working hard on that. That's become a priority we call Virginia Tech Advantage. It's one of our 2 emerging strategic priorities that we've been talking about for about a year and are building momentum both in fundraising and in Richmond and in DC to see these areas of great importance to Virginia Tech and to the Commonwealth addressed. The Virginia Tech Advantage is our commitment to offer the full Virginia Tech experience at an affordable cost to undergraduate students from Virginia who have financial need. We looked carefully at the outcomes for our students. They're absolutely outstanding in a lot of ways. You look at our undergraduate population and the graduation rates, their placement rates, their salaries as they graduate, their salaries 10 years out. A lot of reasons to be proud of the effectiveness of the experience and the accomplishments of our students. But when you break it down and look at individual students or groups of students, you realize that experience is not common for everyone. I would say 3/4 of our students do really well, and about 1/4 struggle financially, or they may be first-generation students who don't have a family network to support them, and or at least not the familiarity with the path through college. And so because we did that deep data analysis, we were able to really hone down on the figures that it would require to get us to a point where all of our students have access to the experiences that are critical for success. So when you look at that, it's about financial aid. There's no question about that. We have a $52 million a year gap in financial aid in order to solve this problem. But it's also about student support and making sure that our students have access to the resources that they need. The common story I like to tell, which is a very common one, is that a student with coming from a low-income family, low wealth, maybe a first-generation student, will end up working part-time for 30 hours a week on a job that does not build toward their career. It gives them some skills, but it's not creating a network for their career. And they come out without the skills and the networks and the opportunities that our wealthier students have. And I think that's just untenable. We need to fix it, and we're determined to do so. On the philanthropic side, we're committed to raising $500 million over the next decade. We're doing well. I just talked to Charlie Flieger, our Senior Vice President for Advancement, and the latest figures are we've raised $43 million in this past year toward a $25 million milestone. So we've vastly exceeded that. And I'm hopeful that we'll get to our $500 million well before the end of the next decade. So for a student to fully experience what Virginia has to offer, of course, the financial aid is a piece of it, but we don't want to discourage them from having a part-time job. But we want to make sure they have enough time to have an internship, to have a paid internship, hopefully, to do undergraduate research, to join a student organization, to build the skills that are predictive of success right out of college. And that is the objective. When we think about the Virginia Tech Advantage, that's one piece of the puzzle. I think that's the biggest kind of impact we can have on our undergraduates. But there's another opportunity for Virginia Tech, and we call that global distinction, Virginia Tech Global Distinction. That is about elevating Virginia Tech's impact on the world and serving its role as a research institution for the Commonwealth of Virginia by bringing talent and partners from all over the world, the best talent and partners, to Virginia Tech. And in order to do that, we need to elevate the impact of our research. We are already a strong research institution, but we're a new one. We really became a comprehensive university in 1970. And before that, we were largely a military institute, or VPI, with a very strong engineering and agriculture school and some other really incredible strengths. But we were not a major research institution. Over the last few decades, the focus on research at Virginia Tech has really been wonderful in terms of advancing us into a different stratum of research universities, entering or close to entering that top tier. And I really think we can get there. When we talk to folks in Richmond, I just had a meeting in Richmond the other day with the governor's staff, they look at Virginia Tech as the partner for bringing organizations, companies, and talent to Virginia. And we certainly had that experience with the Amazon HQ2 recruitment, which resulted in $500 million from the Commonwealth to support Virginia Tech. The Data and Decision Science Building came out of that recruitment of Amazon HQ2 and the Tech Talent Investment Program, and the Innovation Campus in Alexandria is part of that as well. And that doesn't happen unless you are visible as a leader in research and development, unless others perceive you as impactful, you have the scholarship evidence that is really required to be in that top tier. We have a wonderful, I would say, results in the last few years in terms of our faculty being recognized for their work. Last year we had 3 members of our faculty inducted into the National Academies. We had 2 inducted into the National Academy of Inventors. We had 6 this past year in the American Association of Arts and Sciences. We had one of our faculty members, Lindsay Marr, who won a Genius Award, MacArthur's Genius Award. So we are starting to see the results of that. And it's that kind of impact that draws student talent, it draws more faculty from all over the world who want to be at Virginia Tech, and it draws in partners. So those are our 2 big initiatives, Virginia Tech Advantage and Virginia Tech Global Distinction. And we're really rallying around that. So I look forward to working with you over the coming years to look at how you could plug in and help us. Many of you are already doing that, and we're really excited about the future. We have a lot to do to, I think, serve our community, and both these initiatives address that. I would also like to say that one of the big changes at Virginia Tech that I'm very proud of is the diversification of our student body in all sorts of dimensions. And when we talk to employers, they want to have students who are culturally competent, who are very skilled at what they do, and who are motivated and have a commitment to service. And we are delivering that. So that's something that I am really proud of. So I think I'll wrap up my comments there, and we can go to a Q&A and look forward to engaging all of you at different stages. I hope you enjoy your time here on campus over the next day or so. It sounds like you have great plans for the rest of the day, but I'm looking forward to interacting with you as well, both on the stage, but hopefully afterwards when we can get into conversations. But I'm really proud of Virginia Tech over the last decade and really over the last couple of generations, and thank you for your part in making us really a great university with a very high upside. I'll stop there and just go Hokies. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Sands. We have a few questions. We have about 20 minutes and some questions that have been provided to us, so we'll just start with the first one. We're celebrating so many milestones this weekend, including your 10-year anniversary as president. So looking back on the last decade, can you share with us what some of your proudest and most memorable moments have been?
Well, yes, there have been many that I think are certainly memorable. Some of them I'm proud of, but no, I'm just kidding. But probably the one that sticks out in my mind is when we first learned, this was in November, I think it was 2018, and I was at a meeting off-site. We were at, I think, an Association of Public Land-Grant University meeting somewhere in the South. I can't remember exactly where. And I got a call from one of my colleagues here at Virginia Tech who was on point and said, we just learned that the Commonwealth of Virginia won the Amazon HQ2 competition, and that would mean, because of the parallel agreement for the Tech Talent Investment Program, that we were going to move ahead with our innovation campus in Alexandria, and also massive enhancements to what we do here, doubling our computer science program at the undergraduate level in Blacksburg, and doubling it, or more than doubling it, in in Northern Virginia. And that moment of thinking, wow, that was, when we started that competition, it was a result of a call we got after Amazon HQ2 competition began, after it was announced. We got a call from the governor's office, and it went to John Dooley, who I think many of you know, just retired from Virginia Tech, leading our foundation. And the question was, would the university be willing to help the Commonwealth of Virginia in putting proposals together for Amazon HQ2? And we said immediately yes. And evidently we were the only public university in the state that said yes immediately. And I thought, well, that's, I found that out afterward, but we committed some resources to hire a consultant that we thought could do the job and working with the state. And because we said yes on day one, we were in that conversation from the beginning. And the reason that we said yes was that it wasn't just being kind of appropriately aggressive, about the future. It was back in 2015, we met with our alums in Northern Virginia to talk about a global innovation district campus in Northern Virginia. And it was a concept, we didn't have the money for it, but we wanted to start to map it out. And so as a result of many alums and friends of Virginia Tech getting together with our faculty and students and having those design sessions, we had a plan in the drawer. So when that question came in, it wasn't like from the governor's office, it wasn't, do we do this? It was, wow, this is okay, this is our go button, and we just jumped into it. But then we had to get through, I think, something like 200 different entities applied for that, and to get all the way to the end was a miracle, I thought. But that was probably that phone call that I got from Brandy Salmon and our team that evening was just stunning. And there's many other stories there, and it's great to see the building coming up. The building here on campus is done, but the one in Northern Virginia's got a few more months. And then the programs we have been building since, and we survived the pandemic. I think we're in good shape. So that's probably the number one.
Great. That's very exciting. It was exciting for a lot of us. We're very proud of that effort, so thank you. I will ask you a question about the Innovation Campus then, since you brought that up. There's a lot of buzz and excitement around what we're doing in the D.C. area, and we've heard a lot about workforce development, particularly in the areas of computer science and computer engineering. But can you share with us some details maybe of some other programs that are in the D.C. metro area? And then also on top of that, you mentioned extramural research expenditures and how they have exceeded our goals. And so why is that important to Virginia Tech becoming a global institution?
Yeah, the first question really gets back to our original plan from 2015 timeframe. And we were thinking about a global innovation district. And it wasn't about just one discipline. It was about having a presence where we could essentially be embedded with our partners and could be working on complex problems that may be hard to describe by a single discipline. In fact, you can't solve these problems with one discipline. And so we had a vision for transdisciplinary research and engagement and graduate education being co-located with our partners. And that became kind of what I call an innovation hub model that really manifests itself in a lot of different ways in Northern Virginia already. Back in 2011, we opened up, before I arrived, our Arlington Research Facility, which now houses a piece of our National Security Institute, which is one of the country's leading university-based national security institutes. It is the lead in workforce development. And because that's a very niche area, you have to have graduates who are cleared, and they go right in. It could be to the federal government, it could be to contractors, or it could be the military, but they're being prepared for that through our National Security Institute, which also has a big location here in Blacksburg. And we launched a Commonwealth Cyber Initiative right before the announcement about the Innovation Campus, and Virginia Tech leads that. It's a network that is statewide. All of our institutions are involved in it, but we're responsible for leading it. But the vision was much beyond computer science and computer engineering. That is the foundation of it. But when the Tech Talent Investment Program was designed, that MOU with higher education, it was co-announced with the Amazon HQ2 MOU between the Commonwealth of Virginia and Amazon. That MOU on Tech Talent Investment Program was strictly structured around computer science, computer engineering, and software engineering. And we had very specific milestones we needed to meet, which is essentially doubling our graduates in those fields. And we are well on our way. In fact, I think we're past our milestones in the undergraduate side. We're catching up in the graduate side. The lack of a building and the pandemic slowed us down a little, but we've got great momentum there. But our vision is way beyond that. We've already got, for example, our Institute for Creativity, Arts, and Technology, which is based in this building, is going to have a location there in ICAT. Pamplin, our business college, is going to be co-located in the Innovation Campus and will be gradually integrated into the project-based learning that we're going to be doing at the Innovation Campus. We have a number of engineering programs that have been up in Northern Virginia for a long time. They will be connected as appropriate. We'll still have some freestanding programs around Northern Virginia that aren't affiliated with the Innovation Campus or the Arlington site. We're about to launch a Coalition for Smart Construction in Falls Church, which will connect us to our partners there in that field. So what we're seeing emerging, if I look 10 years out, we're going to have a series of innovation hubs, including the Innovation Campus in Alexandria. And we already have plans for some in other places like Newport News, where we have a footprint. And certainly Roanoke, our health science and technology campus. We haven't talked much about that here, but that's a major campus for Virginia Tech already. Those are all in that innovation hub model. And so I think that's where we're headed. That's the kind of impact we're going to have. We're not abandoning Blacksburg. That's where our undergraduates are going to be located. That's where actually the mass of our research operation is and will always be. But having a piece of that embedded with partners is absolutely critical. There's some folks we can't get, so we could be working with an international company, and it's really hard to convince them to start the engagement in Blacksburg. It's really easy to get them to fly into Reagan or to Dulles and to meet them there and show them our innovation campus in Alexandria, and then bring them out here. That's kind of the way things work. So watch it develop. We're still putting our detailed plans together. Julie Ross, our Dean of Engineering, is leading that effort, but we're really excited about the future.
Excellent. Thank you. You mentioned in your remarks about the record number of applications, I think I mentioned it in your introduction as well, that come in every year, and the new academic infrastructure that's about to open. So two-part question, too. What are your thoughts about enrollment growth over the next decade, and then how are you working with the town and sort of the surrounding communities to address those opportunities and challenges?
Yeah, I alluded to that in my remarks, kind of off script, but I think the enrollment issues are significant. There's a couple of things going on here. One, we could grow to be much bigger than we are, but 30,000 undergraduates is already a good-sized university. It's at scale. We don't really need to grow. The only reason we would grow is that, I mentioned earlier, we're certainly turning away qualified students and because of lack of space. And so what we do typically is advise them that they could go to community college for a year and transfer in, which a lot of them do. But it's still, it is a little troubling to be not providing opportunities for every student that really wants to be at Virginia Tech and is absolutely qualified and should be successful. So we had to hold at 30,000 because of the infrastructure. We've just started that engagement. Well, it started more like a year ago, but it's become very formal. And we've got a structure now. We hired a consultant, Link Strategic Partners, to come in and facilitate conversations with our community and to come up with an aligned vision for where we need to focus as a larger community, New River Valley in scope, to advance our region, not just Virginia Tech. And I think I've done this before in at another institution with the community, and it really made a difference because you also find out where you have differences, and that's okay, but let's focus on where we have alignment, and where there are differences, maybe we can, if we're in conversation, we can actually come up with some ideas to solve those problems. So while we pause, we're going to work on enrollment. We're going to work on those. Enrollment in graduate programs will continue to grow. There's a lot of opportunity there. It's less constrained because it's distributed around the state and in some cases the world. It's not all here in Blacksburg. But the other thing that's in the background that you all read about is the so-called enrollment cliff, which is the demographic cliff that is anticipated based on the number of students that are entering high school or going into the K through 12 system over the years. And the Great Recession of 2008 essentially fewer babies were born, and there was a decline in enrollment in K through 12, and that's moving its way through and will hit us in the next couple of years. So we're also cognizant of the fact that despite the fact that we have what seems like insatiable demand, that growing willy-nilly right now is not a good idea, because the number of students who are eligible and are ready to go to college is going to decrease. But I would also argue that based on our experience over the last few years, that there's a whole slew of students out there who have never even considered Virginia Tech because they felt like it wasn't financially accessible, or they're first-generation students and no one's been creating a pathway for them. And we are focusing on that as well. So I'm very bullish about our particular enrollment opportunities going forward, and I'm certain it will be able to withstand or maintain 30,000. The question is, could we do more or should we do more? And that's an open question right now.
Great, thank you very much. I want to move to a bigger, more global issue for the nation, but and the issues that might be facing higher education, and so particularly those impacting maybe the ACC, other Commonwealth schools, Virginia Tech, and then just nationally.
Well, I think there's a couple of things going on that keep me up at night. One is the loss in trust for higher education overall in the nation. We have partners in the business community that do polling of Virginians, and the good news in Virginia is that lack of trust, the loss of trust has not been as precipitous as you see around the country, but we still see some of it, and the question is why, and there's a lot of theories as to why, but it's not a good thing for the country, and it's certainly not a good thing for our prospective students. Because we think at Virginia Tech, I can only speak for Virginia Tech, we think we're preparing students to be successful. We have a lot of evidence for that. And as I mentioned earlier, the Virginia Tech Advantage is about opening the door to make sure that all of our students have that opportunity, not just the students that come from wealthy families or well-connected families. And so I think that's part of rebuilding the trust, is making sure that we do the best job we can at Virginia Tech of making sure that every student we bring in has an opportunity to be successful and then has a successful launch, not just get a degree, but to actually go into their career with some momentum. But the conversation we're having on campus and around the country is for those who perceive, and it's not just a perception, there's a reality component of this, that some of our scholars have become activists at the risk of losing credibility for their scholarship. And I think you can work through that, what that feedback loop is like. That's a problem for higher education in general. So we are having those conversations. I personally believe, I'm really excited to see people who are so committed to a cause that they are going to dedicate their life to it. And I admire that. But the challenge is, as faculty and as administrators, if we take that on, are we going to be credible as a scholar or as an objective decision maker? And the answer is probably not. So this is, I wish it were an easy thing to solve, but we really need, I think we have a responsibility for the students who come to us, that we give them as many perspectives on a problem as possible and let them make their own decisions about where they're going to land in their viewpoints, but to expose them to as many different viewpoints as possible. We've committed to academic freedom and to certainly free speech. We had back in 2022, we had a campus-wide activity around developing a statement on academic freedom and free speech, free discourse. And that, you can find that on our website. It was crafted by the faculty and by the students. It went through shared governance. It was approved by the Board of Visitors. And then I got involved in one at the state level where the Council of Presidents for the Virginia Public Universities did the same thing with the Governor Youngkin, and we came up with a statement that's very similar, actually. So we've been committed to that. Our policies are aligned with those two principles. But there's a challenge when you become an activist and you're responsible for essentially educating our students. There's going to be a conflict. And so stay tuned, but I think that's at the root of it. There are some other issues that I think, you mentioned the ACC, I don't think that was accidental. There's huge challenges around athletics. I really feel like, if we did a Gallup survey of our student athletes, all of our student alumni in 2015, I think it was. And one of the things we learned surveying alums, maybe many of you who had graduated as long ago as 50 years, that if you look at their well-being, their self-reported well-being in 5 dimensions that were surveyed, Hokies were ahead of the national average in all 5 areas. But the 2 groups that really stood out were our former intercollegiate athletes and our Corps Cadets graduates. Those, in terms of all 5 dimensions, were extraordinarily above Hokies as a whole and way above the nation. And so I really think the student-athlete experience is a critical one for Virginia Tech. It lines up with what we talk about skill building in an environment that's experiential. And of course, it brings a lot of attention to Virginia Tech, and it connects with our alums. It's frankly a big driver for the local economy. So we are focused on this, trying to figure out how do we navigate the turmoil right now in athletics around the antitrust cases. And we've got a settlement proposal that's hanging out there. It's probably going to take 6 more months before we hear whether it's approved by the court, by the judge. And we're also working on NIL, name, image, and likeness. We're in a very progressive position with the Commonwealth of Virginia. We have, I think, the most permissive NIL law. But the fact that we have to have statewide laws is a huge problem. There needs to be a national NIL agreement, and we're far away from that. So there's a lot to be done there. Hokie athletics is really important to our community, and I love it myself. And I really love the experience that our students are having, our student athletes. But somehow we've got to make it all work in this crazy new environment. I would say one last comment that I actually think that these moves that we've been making lately and been forced to make through because of the legal environment should have been done a long time ago. Most of them, some of them are a little hard to swallow, but most of them reflect the reality that a small number of our student athletes especially have been driving extraordinary revenue, which has not been coming back to them. And the old amateur model didn't make sense 10 years ago, and it certainly doesn't make sense now. It's hard to let go of it because it was really the foundation of collegiate athletics, but it just doesn't make sense. I have big concerns over the Olympic situation, because as schools make choices to eliminate Olympic sports because of financial difficulties, I certainly hope we're not one of those, but the pressures are going to be there. They're going to have to, the Olympics, the Congress, I think, is going to have to come and rescue the Olympics. That's one thing that really worries me. But there's a lot going on there, and bottom line is we're going to have a great football season, and yeah. And I think Brent Pry has really done a wonderful job engaging people and building a true team, and it's going to be fun. I have no idea what the record's going to be, but I'm so excited about October 5th when we play our first game on the West Coast at Stanford. And it seems crazy, 3 years ago, Cal and Stanford and SMU are in the ACC. It doesn't make any sense. Probably doesn't make any sense now, but the thing that really I got excited about when we started thinking about expansion was reaching our alums in the Dallas area and in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we had an event back in Burlingame a few months ago with our Hokie alums, and they were so charged up to have Hokie Nation coming all the way out to Palo Alto. I think that's extraordinary. I hope it lasts, but it's just so fun to see the larger Hokie Nation engaged now that we've become a national enterprise.
Excellent, and I think we are at time, and that is an excellent way for us to finish out our time with President Sands today. So thank you all for coming. President Sands, thank you very much for your time this morning, and go Hokies!
Yeah, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. Just didn't get to that one Virginia Tech advantage.